Gameplay-wise, Quantum Break has a lot in common with previous Remedy games. It takes fairly unremarkable third-person shooting and makes it exciting with a gimmick. Max Payne had cinematic bullet time, and Alan Wake had weaponized light. In Quantum Break, it's time-based superpowers. There's at least 4 of them, in fact, and when layered together they make combat really intense and strategic. Let's start with the core shooting. It's functional, but to be honest, it lacks the feedback you got when pumping bullets into Gears of War's Locusts or Binary Domain's robots. Shooting rifles and SMGs isn't particularly exhilarating, but it's effective in that death by 1,000 cuts kind of way. Grab a shotgun and get close though, and you're working with Mike Tyson grade uppercuts. For that desperate situation when you run out of ammo on primary weapons, you've got a very handy pistol with a bottomless clip. Weapons in hand, it's simply a case of bouncing around cover and gunning down everything in your path. Now that may sound pretty uninspired, and yeah, it kind of is, but it's also a solid foundation on which Remedy builds something far more exciting. Let's backtrack a bit before we get into that.
Jack, your hands. Gotta keep moving.
Quantum Break opens with a classic time travel experiment gone wrong. In the aftermath, Iceman, aka Jack Joyce, is being hunted by a mega evil organization called Monarch. The upshot for Joyce is he acquires the ability to manipulate zero-state energy, which is essentially science talk for almost frozen time. Think Hero from Heroes, but without the yattas every 5 minutes. Yatta! It's this time-bending superpower that elevates combat. The first power, Time Vision, acts like Batman's detective mode and highlights all threats in red. Since different enemy types have distinct silhouettes, this was a handy way of giving everyone an ocular pat-down. With the Time Stop ability, you can fire a bubble of frozen time to bring things to a grinding halt for a few seconds. If you're quick, you can freeze a grenade coming your way and scoot out of the blast zone, or trap an enemy next to an explosive barrel and, well, you know what happens next. It's a versatile tool that has defensive, offensive, and strategic applications, so it became a bit of a crutch. The third power, Time Dodge, is essentially a blink, and if you're familiar with Dragon Ball Z, you'll know there are few things as awesome as an instant teleport. So when you vanish right before a charging enemy's eyes and reappear behind him to empty a clip into his back, you can't help but smile. The last power lets you become Neo from the Matrix for a few seconds and nullify all incoming damage. Time Shield was really useful when we let the power trip get to our heads and got overwhelmed, which as it turns out was all the time. With all that power you'd think it'd be easy to steamroll through everyone, but there are nuances to the way powers work to stop that from happening. Since each ability has a cooldown period, you need to be mindful of recovery times. While Time Vision can be spammed, Time Stop, Time Dodge and Time Shield need to be micromanaged for effective use. And trust me, you'll need to start getting really effective with your powers really fast. Your enemies are remarkably aggressive and pretty intelligent too. When in cover, they'll shower you with bullets to execute flanks, and if you have a tendency of hiding behind objects, they'll use grenades to flush you out into the open. At times, it can verge on overwhelming, but that pressure is by design. It's Remedy turning otherwise overpowered skills into tools for survival. Skirmishes are painfully intense, flirting between power trips and desperate crisis management. The constant depleting and recharging of abilities gives combat an electrifying ebb and flow. Enemies react to your actions and call out to each other when you use powers, and then start compensating for them. As it turns out, you can also manipulate their teamwork by concentrating gunfire or using abilities to funnel them into choke points. For those glorious moments when you're firing on all cylinders, the synergy between abilities gives you a control over the battlefield that borders on predatory. There's an explosive energy to moving around the environment that makes you feel super heroic, and that feeling intensifies as you upgrade abilities and make them more powerful. There were a couple of niggles during our hands-on. Aiming always felt a bit off regardless of the sensitivity setting, and the act of moving from cover to cover wasn't particularly satisfying. We could always teleport between points and move around the environment that way, but it always felt like stepping away from drama. But overall, this stuff wasn't a deal breaker.
What do you want?
Of course, Remedy is also trying some ambitious things with storytelling in Quantum Break, specifically how it's delivering it. While the game focuses on Jack Joyce's side of the story, 30-minute live-action episodes between each act follow bad guy Paul Serene. There are junctures where player choices impact both stories, and neat touches where live-action focuses on characters that would otherwise be forgettable. But whether all this will be enough to successfully unify video games and live-action is the question. Time will tell, but at the very least it looks like the studio is anchoring its ambitions on shooting that feels empowering and thrilling. For more on Quantum Break, check out GameSpot.com.